Muslims celebrate Eid el-Fitr with messages of love, tolerance, and peaceful coexistence. President Muhammadu Buhari congratulates Muslims and joins the Ummah to imbibe lessons of the season. Plus, Nigeria calls for cease of fire in Sudan. These and more on today's Panorama. I am Frama Panyi. We begin with Eid prayers. The Imam of Abuja National Mosque, Dr. Muhammad Kabir Adam, has enjoined Muslims to continue with the good teachings of the month of Ramadan, which he says forms an ideal situation of peaceful coexistence and true brotherhood. He stated this at Eid el-Fitr's sermon at the National Eid Ground, Abuja. Details later. Now, after weeks of rigorous spiritual discipline and a month-long worship, comes the Eid el-Fitr, which is a festival of show of gratitude to Allah. In this special report, Onoze Yakubu puts into perspective the significance of Eid el-Fitr in the life of a Muslim.
Eid el-Fitr in Arabic means festival of breaking of fast. It is one of the most widely celebrated Islamic festivals, marking the end of the holy month of Ramadan. The festival is to appreciate God for affording Muslims the health and strength to endure the month-long Ramadan fast.
It is there you reunite, you have your communion with your Almighty God by using the advantage of those 2 rak'at to ask for Allah's favors, mercies, blessings, and fortunes.
The period reminds Muslims on the need to embrace people from diverse social and economic cycles and to share the joy of festivities with the less privileged.
It is another opportunity whereby you are going to extend your charity to those around you and those who are far away from you.
Eid el-Fitr is set aside for merrymaking, and it is forbidden to fast on the Eid el-Fitr day in line with the Prophet's traditions. Onoze Yakubu, NTA News.
Now, Imam of the National Mosque in Abuja, Dr. Muhammad Kabir, has urged Nigerians to remain law-abiding and support the government in bringing peace to the populace. The Islamic cleric made the call in an interview after delivering his sermon, marking the end of the month of Ramadan. The Imam also used the period to remind Muslims to support the needy even after the fasting period. As a period for sober reflection, Sheikh Muhammad Kabir stressed on sustaining the various acts of worship exemplified in the holy month. Counting one major blessing is the peaceful conduct of the just concluded elections in the country.
We have to live in peace, and we have to support the government so that we can have a good policies that will affect the life of the common man in the country. Every Nigerian should be a law-abiding.
Now let's take you to Ibadan, where Muslims have been urged to continue to worship according to tenets of Islam. And this formed part of sermon by Chief Imam of Ibadan land, Sheikh Abdulhi Agbotemeke, at this year's Eid el-Fitr prayer. Lukman Hasabin has the report.
Abdulgani Agbotomokekere reminded Muslims that they need to focus on the true worship of Allah according to the teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Quran. Other Muslim faithfuls who also attended the Eid al-Fitr prayer at the Agodi Eid Ground noted that they have learned a lot during the month of Ramadan, and they prayed to Allah to accept their ibadat.
The simple message to our good people in Oyo State is to keep imbibing the spirit of Ramadan, that is love, perseverance, peace, and justice.
Remember to fear Allah in all our dealings, with Allah, in our dealings with our fellow human being and every other person. So that's just the essence of Ramadan.
It should be noted that the month of Ramadan began about 30 days ago with the sighting of the new moon of Ramadan. While the marking of the end of this year's Ramadan was being announced by the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Saad Abubakar II, who noted that the new crescent of Shawwal has been sighted in various parts of the world. From the Eid Grand Agodi Gate, back to you in the studios.
Thank you very much. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has said that the peaceful outcome of the 2023 general elections will go down on record as one of the proudest achievements of my administration, in addition to the neutrality in the conduct of the elections. In his goodwill message to Muslims on the occasion of Eid el-Fitr celebration to mark the end of 30-day Ramadan fasting season, President Buhari explained that the outcome of the elections are in line with his pledge to leave a legacy of free and fair elections. He said he is proud to have created a level playing field for all contestants, regardless of party affiliation, in order to produce a fair outcome for all. According to the president, free and fair elections are the only principles that give credibility to our democracy, because of subversion of will of the people undermines democracy itself. The president is quoted to say that the elections were so transparent that even members of his party were routed and unseated. At no point did he interfere with the process in order to give unfair advantage to anyone. On the Ramadan fast, President Buhari congratulated Muslims on successfully completing the demanding spiritual obligation. While praying to Allah to reward Muslims for their sacrifices during the fasting season, President Buhari advised that we should not forget the important lessons of the Ramadan, which includes improving our bond with the underprivileged and poor members of the society. According to him, abstention from food and drinks during the fasting period had made it possible for us to appreciate the situation of those who go without eating every day. Now, President-elect Bola Tinubu has sent a message of felicitations, wishing all Muslims in Nigeria and beyond happy Salah celebration. In a statement he personally issued, the president-elect, who thanks Allah for the grace to witness this year's Eid el-Fitr celebration after the holy month of Ramadan, recognizes that for Muslims in the country and all over the world, Ramadan fast is sacred spiritual obligation as one of the 5 pillars of Islam. He said, with the help of Almighty Allah, Muslims have gone through a period of abstinence, self-discipline, self-reflection, self-purification in gratitude, supplications, and total submission to the will of Allah. Tinubu said the lessons entail love for one another, love for fellow humans regardless of creed, region, and ethnicity, love for one community, and love for the country. He added that as to love one another, have compassion, empathy, and love for the country means Nigerians must become better citizens. In line with the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, Nigerians generally must constantly Now, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has congratulated Muslims in Nigeria on the occasion of this year's Eid el-Fitr, which signifies the glorious end of the holy month of Ramadan. In his Salah message, Senator Lawan urged Muslims to have faith that Allah has accepted their prayers and supplications made before and during this period. He urged them not to cease praying for wisdom for Nigeria's leaders and for security, prosperity, and peaceful transition for the country. Senator Lawan noted that as elected representatives in Parliament, they will continue to provide legislative interventions to enhance the efforts of the executive arm of government towards making Nigeria a better place. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has rejoiced with Muslims across the country on the occasion of this year's Eid el-Fitr, marking the end of this year's Ramadan. Gbajabiamila also congratulated the Muslim faithful for the successful completion of the Ramadan, in which he said lessons must have been learned. He called on Muslims across the country to use the occasion of Eid al-Fitr to pray for the country, noting that periods like this call for sober reflection and unity from all citizens, irrespective of their religious beliefs. The speaker said Nigeria is the only country we can call ours. Hence, the citizens, especially Muslims at this time, must work together and pray assiduously for continuous peaceful coexistence among the people, adding that one of the lessons learnt during the holy month of Ramadan was compassion and care for the needy, urging Muslims to continue to be their brothers' keepers as enjoined by the Almighty Allah through the Holy Prophet Muhammad. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa CFR, on behalf of the Federal Executive Council, FEC, felicitates with the Muslim faithful on the successful completion of the Ramadan fast as well as the celebration of Eid el-Fitr. He urged them to use the period of celebration to continue to reflect on the purpose and lessons of the Ramadan, which include love, charity, endurance, tolerance and sacrifice in adherence to the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, for spiritual rejuvenation and sustainable national growth and development. SGF enjoins Nigerians to continue to pray for successful transition program as everything has been put in place for a peaceful and orderly transition on May 29, 2023. The Federal Executive Council wishes the Muslim faithful a joyful Eid el-Fitr filled with blessings. Similarly, wife of the President-elect, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, is felicitating with the Muslim faithful in Lagos Central Senatorial District and all over Nigeria on the celebration of this year's Eid el-Fitr. As the Nigerian Muslims celebrate the occasion, Senator Tinubu sends greeting to all, especially women who worked tirelessly to cater to the needs of their families and communities during the odd hours in Ramadan. In a personally issued statement titled Embracing Diversity, Celebrating Unity, the wife of President-elect says beyond the Ramadan, it is, however, important to carry on the lessons learned in the spiritual exercise and its virtues into everyday lives, continually praying for loved ones and for peace and prosperity of the nation, Nigeria. She urges Nigerian women to be strong, resilient and supportive of one another and continue to work towards gender equity and empowerment of women in all spheres of life. Senator Tinubu also enjoins the youth as the future of the country to channel their energy, creativity and innovation to drive the nation forward. We'll pause here and take a breather. Panorama continues shortly.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Welcome back. Time to hand you over to Kemi in our Ibadan Network Center for more stories on Panorama. Kemi, over to you. Barka da Sallah. And what's happening in Ibadan today, Salah?
Thank you, Frama, and welcome to Ibadan. Beautiful things are happening, as we all know. It's Salah Day. To say the month of Ramadan in the Islamic calendar is most rewarding may be stating the obvious. The lessons of sacrifice, love, sharing, tolerance, and discipline, among others, stands the month out. Beyond its religious values, however, how can these benefits be harnessed and entrenched towards nation building? Shala Wahid tells us more.
Eid el-Fitr, known as the festival of breaking fast, marks the end of 29 to 30 days Ramadan fast for Muslims worldwide. During the month, Muslims observe a strict fast and participate in pious activities to purify the soul. Fasting during Ramadan brings sympathy, love, and brotherhood, and takes away hatred, jealousy, greed, and hostility, all aimed at having a peaceful and sustainable society.
The essence of Ramadan fasting exercise is to reform all faithfuls in order that we become a transformer, that we become a thoroughbred person that is reliable and dependable.
As an integral part of the 5 pillars of Islam, fasting during Ramadan is compulsory for able Muslims, and if its tenets are piously observed, will create a great nation.
Before the ending of that Ramadan, there is a particular charity we give out. We call it Zakat el-Fitr. So by the time we are giving out that charity, that Zakat el-Fitr, we give it to Muslims and non-Muslims, so that the celebration gives us joy, unity, and comfort.
When you wake up in the night, you know the feeling of those that are sick in the hospital. And when you abstain from feeding, from eating, you know that some people are around that they have nothing to eat.
We must support government in order that we are able to have more habitable, safe, and secure environment where everybody will be able to participate effectively in the pursuit of a nation building.
In addition to being a time for reflection and fresh beginnings, Muslims are admonished to remain pious, tolerant, generous, and continue to worship Allah regularly with good deeds after Ramadan. In Ibadan, Shola Wahid, NTA News.
And with me in the studio is the Chief Imam of Staff, the Chief of Staff, Muslim Umar of Oyo State, and former Head of Department, Arabic and Islamic Studies, University of Ibadan, Professor Camille Olosho, the Chief Imam of Staff, Muslim Umar of Oyo State. You're welcome to Panorama.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Eid Mubarak to you, sir,
Eid Mubarak,
and to other Muslim
Eid
brethren.
Mubarak to you and to everybody there.
Now, today is Eid el-Fitr, marking the end of the Ramadan. How significant is this fast in Islam?
We are taking two things together, though they are connected.
Definitely.
The fast of Ramadan is the 4th pillar of Islam. It comes after Zakat, which comes after Salat, which comes after Iman. The 5th one is the Hajj. And you will agree with me that these days people extol Hajj more than these other pillars. Fasting in the month of Ramadan is about reformation and regeneration. You want to carry some people through some training because you want them to be updoing, to be disciplined. And that is the lesson which fasting avails those who fast sincerely. The fasting of Ramadan was to bring together people of different background, different education, acquirements. All of them come together to fast, particularly to break together, so that they resonate love and genuine socialization at that time. Again, in fasting, you have to keep away from eating and drinking. You also have to keep away from lewdness, bad habits generally. You don't look at other people's wives intensively.
Now, Professor Olosho, let me take you. You've mentioned some virtues now, like love, forgiveness. Now, how can you harness these virtues for a better society?
That is the essence of fasting. before you get to the bigger society, you have a nuclear society where you resonate and you allow this love to radiate.
Talking about from the family.
Yes. And if you are well disciplined, even at that level, you can carry that on and over to the larger society, so that you know that we must interact in spite of our ethnicity, our religious affiliation. We are one, created by the one God, and then born by just one man, Adam. So Muslim, Christians, Kankas, what have you, we are all from Adam. And like the Prophet of Islam said, he says, all of you are from Adam, and so you should behave together, you should eat together, you should work together, you should serve together, you should worship together. So if that is allowed to permeate in the society, we will have a very good society that will be devoid of rancor, of killings, of banditry, of terrorism.
Okay, let me now ask you to give us the view of Islam when we talk about nation building. You've mentioned that it's a collaborative effort, but particularly the view of Islam when we talk about nation building, especially in Nigeria, as we celebrate Eid el-Fitr and our great diversity. What's your view?
We should look at our diversity as an avenue for growth of the society, development of the society. Nation building is an act incumbent upon a true Muslim, because that is what the Quran, our scripture, has taught, and the Prophet has demonstrated it when he was the leader of the people in Medina. He was the leader not just of Muslims. You have the Jews, the Christians, the Astrosians, all sorts of religious inclination. And the Prophet wedded all of them together for the benefit of that society. And that was why it is stated that the Medinan society, headed by the Prophet of Islam and containing different people of religious persuasives, was one of the best societies in history.
Now, we've had 30 days of Ramadan.
Yeah.
Today, the celebration is on. We've had Eid prayers across the country. And now, what are the things critical to the celebration? Do people just go home and continue eating?
We must not forget the lessons that we have learned during the Ramadan, which, if put together, is tantamount to discipline, love, peace, communality. So if we allow all these things that we have learned during the Ramadan to resonate in our lives, it will be better for all and sundry. You don't say because Ramadan has finished, you now go back to all the evil things you used to do before.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Camille Olosho, for coming on Panorama.
It's a pleasure.
Panorama continues. The federal government of Nigeria is deeply concerned about the escalation of the conflict in Sudan between the Sudan Armed Forces, SAF, and the paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, which has brought deaths and untold suffering to civilians. The non-adherence of the warring parties to numerous international calls for a ceasefire has worsened the plight of civilians and made it impossible to embark on their evacuation. Nigeria therefore wishes to reiterate the urgent need for an immediate ceasefire. In the meantime, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is in contact with the Sudanese authorities and has, through the Nigerian embassy in Khartoum, made it an official request for permission to evacuate Nigerian students and other members of the Nigerian community who may wish to depart the country. Additionally, the Nigerian embassy has created WhatsApp and Telegram platforms for the students and other Nigerians in Sudan for the purposes of proper coordination and regular updates. Nigerians in the country are advised to remain indoors and contact the embassy on any of the following numbers: 249-90-765, 0720-234-803-698, and 249-9244-01217. And now I'm going to sports. We may not be able to take sports at the moment, and that's it on Panorama from Ibadan Network Center. Thank you for being part of it. Have a lovely afternoon. It's bye for now.
Thank you for anchoring.